takes me so long to understand sometimes why it's hard to understand. Sometimes it takes me 2 or 3 times sometimes to try to get it right, sometimes to get it right. I've got some coins in my pocket. I've got a color TV, yeah. It's gotten so complicated now. What does it mean to be free? Only love is real. Everything is love. Everything you feel, that's what your world is made of. And when I take a good look around, I see my thoughts are coming back to me. So look around. We are in charge of our own dreams. We have more power than it seems. So look around. I got a plan in my pocket, and then you show me who you love and hate, and I will show you all your angels that guard your heaven's gate. Only love is real. Everything is love. Everything you feel, that's what your world is made of. Hey, yeah. Only love, only love is real, real. Oh, only love is real. Everything is love. Everything you feel, well, that's what your world is made of. You get it? That's what your world is made of. That's what your world is made of.
Thank you. Yeah, love that song. Thank you, Janet and Andrew and Jonathan and Matt. There's Matt. Yeah, only love is real. And I love this. My thoughts are coming back to me, so look around. We're in charge of our own dreams. We have more power than it seems, so look around. So look around. Where your thoughts are creating, right here. It's an incredible community. We chose some of Melissa Etheridge's songs for our holiday season, and what a wonderful way to start this year. And when we think about that, here is a very well-known artist that clearly is a new thought artist, a new thought person. That's what she takes up, is new thought. And you can hear it in all of her songs. as she journeyed in her own life, and it just kept coming out more and more. So we are our thoughts, we are what we feel, and look around. Who are we surrounding our life with? And so that's most imperative as we move into what our annual theme is for 2016, because what we know is when we set an intention, when we cast a vision, especially in this community with an annual theme, it grows and it manifests and things start to shift and shape and change throughout the year. So this is a perfect time to really ground our annual theme. So our annual theme is not only, for the first time that we're aware of, is not only being taken up by our community, but our annual theme is being taken up by over 100 of our centers for spiritual living in this country and in other countries. And so we are joining today on this Sunday, launching this annual theme with tens of thousands of people. And as we anchor that together, then we're going to ensure that we play a part and a role in manifesting this theme, this vision, and that is a world that works for everyone. A world that works for everyone. And so each week we're going to take some key ideas from our global vision and from our teaching, The Science of Mind, and in doing so, we are going to be joining with all of these fellow friends from all across the country and in other countries as well. We also asked someone in our community, because as you know, we have so many artistic people in our community, we asked someone to bring forward an image that would represent this theme for us. And we are so blessed that Karen Apu said yes and brought this original artwork forward. You have it on a sheet that you were given this morning, and it is gorgeous. It has many of the words from the Global Vision, and so we were going to use this all throughout the year. She gifted it to us, and we get to use it however we want from here on out. So thank you, Karen, for that. I think she's still in Brazil having a great time. So again, imagine that tens of thousands of people today are like grounding in this vision and casting it before us, a world that works for everyone. So it takes a village to do this, and not just our community, and I want some help. So I need 15 people that are willing to come up here and do something with me right now. Come on. Get to trust. We're going to get to 15. Here they come. Teacher's counting.
7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Y'all want to be here all day?
Looks like we've got just about enough now. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right.
All right. Wherever she's telling you to go.
And just squeeze over, scoot over just a little bit so we can just nicely 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yes, great. Woo.
All right. We each bring that which we are to this vision. And it takes many voices and many experiences, a diversity of people from all different backgrounds to ensure that this vision comes to fruition. And so we're going to, all of us, really begin to steep this vision into ourselves. And so I wanted a little help. So, a global vision. We see a world that works for everyone. And then I'd just like each of you to take one of the lines and read it.
Where all life is honored as expressions of the divine.
Where people live according to spiritual truth.
Where humanity awakens to spiritual magnificence.
Where humanity rediscovers personal creative power.
Where we live in one global family.
Where kinship with all life prospers.
Where unity and connection is emphasized.
Where forgiveness is the norm.
Where spiritual guidance is valued.
where we are called to conscious social action.
Where people have enough food, homes, and a sense of belonging.
Where there is peace, harmony, and justice for all.
Where resources are valued, cared for, and shared.
Where communities are meaningfully involved in service to the world.
Where there is a renewed emphasis on beauty, nature, creativity, art, and aesthetics.
Thank you. Yes. So, for all of you who did not come up here, what really speaks to you about this global vision? It works for everyone.
That we're all taking part.
We're all taking part. It's exciting to know you're being loved. Harmony. Hope. Community. We can all make a difference. Forgiveness. Peace. Justice for all. Unity. Raising mass consciousness. Connection. Creativity. Diversity. Wonderful. So, I really wonder if we were to take time to get clear within our own consciousness, what would this world look like? Can we imagine it? What would it look like? Well, Dr. Holmes imagined it decades ago, and he says, we believe, and this is from What We Believe, we believe the ultimate goal of life is the complete emancipation from all discord of every nature, and that is sure to be attained by all. So in other words, he was speaking of a world that works for everyone. No one is left out. Now, in this incredible book, which I highly recommend we all read together, by Sharif Abdullah, he actually points out that there's 3 criterias to create a world that works for everyone. The first criteria is enoughness. Now, what he says is, though, in regards to enoughness, everyone has enough, even though resources are not equally shared. Now, we know right now that there are enough, more than enough resources for every single person and being on this planet. But enoughness doesn't mean that we all have to have the same amount. We all have enough. The second criteria is exchangeability. Now this one's interesting. To meet this criteria, trading places would be okay. If I trade places with any of you, that would be okay. One of the examples he gives is for the parents. If you really think about the arc of your life, would you be willing to trade the places with your children now? And so, in this world that works for all, it might not be perfect, but I might be happy trading with you. And I might be still happy trading with you, but it's different, but it's okay if I did. And the third criteria is common benefit. The system is designed and intended. The system is designed and intended to benefit all. Those are the 3 criteria, and we're going to be exploring that and many things from this book every Wednesday night this month, Dr. Peter Tracy and I. So I started thinking about this, and over the holidays, I decided to read a book, a non-spiritual book. No, it is, sort of. And it is an incredible novel, historical fiction novel, by James Michener. I've not read him before. And it's called The Source. And in there, in the beginning of this book, he talks about the beginning of human life. And as we know, in the beginning, we lived in caves. And he tells this story of this family. And this family is living in a cave. And they've been doing this for 70,000 years. Living in a cave. And what happens is this particular man, meets a wife from another region. And as they start to be in the cave together in family, you know, all the hunters, they go out and they get all the food and they come back and they share everything with everyone in the cave, no matter what, whether they're blood-related family or not. It is a sharing of the food, the hides, of everything. It is a world that works for all. And eventually the wife says, yes, but you know what? What I know, because I've seen it, is we can take this wheat grain and we can plant it anywhere we want, and it will grow where we want it to. We can determine where it grows. So I think we ought to go plant a seed of wheat down by the well. He sort of takes a while to come along with her, but she starts to plant down the well, and it's far way off. And meanwhile, then, basically, what happens is she says, let's build a house closer to the well. Now, at that point in time, that moment in history, there is a new term, and there's a new concept and a new way of life that begins. And it is called my. My house, my wheat, my well. And if we look at another example in the Star Trek, The Next Generation, in the future, actually, it is a world that works for everyone because money has no use anymore, and everybody has more than enough resources on all the various planets, even though everybody doesn't have the same needs. So we can see the possibility from both our ancient past, from that which we imagined about our future, and we can hold, and our future vision, and we can hold a vision for being different than it is right now. So from our book of the month, CSLDallas tells us that we can change the world right now by shifting our consciousness and our values from a foundation of exclusivity to one of inclusivity. And Albert Einstein really shows this and depicts this well in a quote where he says, a human being is a part of the whole called, by us, universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings, as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. The delusion is a kind of prison for us now, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. So the real question for us in holding this vision of this annual theme is, do we really believe it's possible? You see, Sharif tells us it might be hard for some of us to believe that it's possible. For everything we learned in formal education and in our culture reinforces the notion that the world can work for only a few. History, anthropology, psychology, politics, economics, and our fathers and mothers strengthen the idea that the world cannot work for all. Think back to your first economics course. On the first day, the teacher or professor said something like, economics is an allocation of limited resources. You didn't question it, you dutifully wrote it down, and it fit your world picture. That laid the groundwork for all the later explanations of why some were millionaires while others were permanently unemployed.
And so we're stuck with that belief if we continue to believe it. Just like we're stuck with the beliefs that we were taught as children, we're not good enough, we don't know what we're doing, all of those negative and limited thinking, all of those belief systems that we took on as children, which we are learning in the science of mind, in our practical positive spirituality, how to move through and move beyond. We're learning how to release those limited beliefs, aren't we? We're learning how to discover a new way of thinking about our lives. And so one of the reasons why we're taking up this global vision and the idea that a world that works for everyone is that we can use this exact same spiritual discipline, the same spiritual practices, the same spiritual ideas to not only clear out our own limited thinking, experience our own unlimited nature, but we can begin to ferret out these very limiting thoughts and beliefs that we collectively share, that are creating and continuing to create a collective consciousness of limitation. So, Science of Mind teaches us that we have to shift our consciousness to experience an unlimited experience of our own lives. And we can do the same, that we are enjoined, we are encouraged, we are invited into this same kind of shift in consciousness around the collective experience. So when we are confronted with the ideas of poverty, and when we see hunger, when we experience homelessness in our neighborhoods with people that we know, we see the outpicturing of our collective consciousness that believes that there isn't enough, that has bought in hook, line, and sinker to this notion of limitation, that there's only so many homes, so much food, so many jobs to go around, or that we don't have the opportunity or the possibility to experience these things. We see our own limitation, our own limited beliefs, whether it's in a culture, in a nation, in a state, in a religion, in an ethnicity. We see the limited beliefs played out, and we agree with each other's limitations. While these limitations may be the fact of the condition, we can in fact say that the earth itself is limited. There's only a finite amount. You can measure it. You can say the earth is this big, there's this much water, there's this much land mass, there's this much oil, there's this much air. This is actually not the eternal truth of the reality of life. And so if we can see that in our own personal experiences, we can begin to see that this is true on the collective. While our physical experience of the earth may be limited, the eternal truth is that there is an unlimited source, an unlimited resource for energy and food and care and shelter, just as we have experienced it in our own lives. While we can see the facts of a condition, we want to begin to see the eternal truth of reality, that it can and must change. It grows and opens. Because the other side of this coin is that if I can do it in my own life, if I can have it all, and I can teach you that you can have it all, then that has to be true about everyone. That any one of us can have it all. That every one of us can have it all. Because we're all one. Each one of us, individual expressions of the whole. Whether you're sitting in this sanctuary, whether you're listening to the video, watching the video, whether you're across the globe, whether you're in some other community, another house of worship, whether you're across the river in Dallas. If it is true for any one of us, it's true for every one of us. You see, as we move now, we had this massive move from the collective in the cave to my. You see, we're all living in a cave together. We'll call it planet Earth. This is the cave we're living in, planet Earth. And we have the opportunity now to move from my to us, from mine to ours. Ernest Holmes says this: if you could realize the tremendous power of attraction that holds everything in place, right? These are some of the forces that hold everything in place, gravity and all of the forces down to the electrons. If you could realize the tremendous power of attraction that holds everything in place, it is yours, this gift. It is yours. It is the divine birthright of every living soul. But we limit ourselves by the thought of limitation that we were taught in school, by our parents, by whomever. We limit ourselves by that very thought of limitation. Now we must open up the doors of our consciousness and expand and expand and expand, and no longer think in terms of the backyard lot, but in terms of the infinite nature, in terms of the universe itself, in terms of that infinite reality. To stop being seduced by the facts of the condition and to claim the spiritual truth as the reality. And to recognize that when we do so, that attractive power is working not only in our own personal lives, but we contribute to that working in the life of the community. This community, the community of our families, the community of our loved ones, the community of our friends, our ethnicity, our state, our nation, the community of humanity. Ernest Holmes goes on to say this: everything is built on the boundless basis, drawn from a limitless source, come forth from an infinite sea of unmanifest life. We speak forth into this life. We speak forth into this life and draw back from it all that we first think into it. Life is always limitless, and the only thing that limits us is our inability to conceive mentally. And we should draw more and more from that limitless source. The only thing that limits us is our inability to conceive mentally. And what is that? But to imagine. To imagine the possibility of something that maybe we have never seen, that we have not experienced in our own lifetime. Maybe we have not experienced the world working for us. Maybe we've not seen the world working for other people. But if we allow that condition to become an unchangeable fact, then we continue to attract and draw that into our lives, personally and collectively. But when we can imagine, when we can conceive of mentally something different, do you see that same attractive force, that same process operates? And that which we imagine is the seed of something new. So all the many ways in which people seek to lift themselves and each other, to have opportunities that they didn't have before, to believe in themselves and to be empowered toward creating a better life, these are now the outpicturing of a new inner belief. An inner belief that says, yes, this is the truth of every human being. You see? And we have lots and lots and lots of evidence of individuals and collectives and communities that have empowered themselves and that have had new experiences because of it. Now, we get hoist on the same issue in this idea of a world that works for everyone, that stops us in our own lives. I just can't figure out how this is going to happen. Yes? Yes. And we spend inordinate amounts of time trying to figure it out. And we're doing God's job. And we're trying to we're basically trying to micromanage the universal power and presence. So let me just tell you, universe, how you're supposed to do this. Right? And it's exactly the same thing. We do it in our own lives. I don't know how it's going to work out. And with that thought, we stop ourselves. With that thought, we have now limited ourselves because we cannot mentally conceive of it. But we don't have to. Do you see, we only have to mentally conceive of the end result. It is the job of the universe to get us there. It is the job of the universe to figure out the how. We must have the wisdom and the faith to stand in the what? In the truth that we imagine. And trust that the how unfolds. Now, we can talk about a world that works for everyone, and, sometimes it feels like, one of those leftover old hippy-dippy ideas, a little utopian, not really sure that we can really buy into it. And yet, this notion is the essence of the moral code of every one of our major world religions. Every one of them. Sharif Abdullah, he writes about 4 in specific. From Rabbi Hillel, what is hateful to you, do not do to others. From the Buddha, do not hurt others with that which hurts yourself. From Jesus, do unto others whatever you would have them do unto you. And from Muhammad, none of you is a believer until you love for your neighbor what you love for yourself. This is not a utopian dream. This is not, everybody has to be leveled down to the same level so that everybody can have something. No, this is a deep and profound experience of active compassion, recognizing that the human experience that each one of us is having is contained within the notion that we are one, that we are part of the whole. So we don't have to figure out how to do these things. When we're trying to figure out how to work on this, we are focusing on the condition, not on the truth. So what we would rather do is focus on the changeable truth until we see the condition. What we want to focus on is the changeless truth until we see the condition as a changeable fact. Do you see, we are seduced into believing that facts are unchanging and therefore real. But they are not. Only the truth is changeless. The facts, the conditions, they change because we have seen a new truth. So we focus on seeing that new truth. We focus on perceiving and then expecting something different. In 1986, our community in Renton, Washington, the first community that I was the minister, we heard about this thing by John Randolph Price. It was the original World Peace Meditations. And it was the very first year in 1986. John Randolph Price said, wouldn't it be amazing if we could have people all over the globe meditating on world peace all at the same time? And of course, everybody told him he was crazy and the media didn't pay any attention to it. But we got all excited about it in Renton, Washington. And we got together with a group of other people, and there were people there. Then they said, we're going to rent the Kingdom, and we're going to pray for world peace at 4 a.m. in the morning on December 31st. After everybody's been out partying. We're going to go to the Kingdom. We're going to pray for world peace. Well, we didn't have the money as this collective group of interfaith that people, we didn't have the money to go to rent the Kingdom, so we took on, as our community, the process of raising the money. We had a big giant concert. We got in a lot of local artists who gifted all of their time and talent. Major radio stations got involved, and we raised, I don't know, somewhere between $50,000 and $75,000, and we gave it to the group, and they rented the Kingdom. And we had 8,000 people there at 4 a.m. in the morning on December 31st in 1986, praying for world peace, along with however many tens of thousands of people around the globe. And we were picketed by the Christians. But that got us in the newspaper the next day. So, all publicity is good publicity, no matter where it comes from. And so people began to hear about that people had been praying for world peace. Now, between 1986 and 1989, there was a beautiful Christian group called the Friendship Force, and they sent primarily women, actually the women paid for it themselves, but they arranged for primarily women to go to Russia and to live in Russian homes for a week or two, and to spend time over tea and coffee and over breaking of bread together with Russian families for no other purpose than to make friends. My mother went twice, came back with the most amazing stories, beautiful babushkas, gorgeous opportunity to build bridges. She came back. And I remember in 1989, she and I happened to be together. As you know, my mother was raised in Germany through the war and immigrated to the United States. So in 1989, she and I were together when they announced that the Berlin Wall had come down. And my mother sank to her knees and said, I never thought I would see this in my lifetime. Never in her wildest dreams. She would see that in her lifetime. Because family members were cut off by that wall, remember? Right? Families were divided. So, was it a concert? Was it 8,000 people praying in the Kingdom? Was it my mother sitting across the table from someone to make friends in Russia? Were these the ways how it happened? We have no idea, do we? But each and every act, each and every moment, each and every time someone imagined the possibility, that shifted the collective consciousness. And you see, this is where our spiritual training helps us. It helps us to stay focused and disciplined. It helps us to stay focused on the vision. And this is why we call it a global vision. We don't call it the goal to change the world. It's not a goal. Goals imply steps and objectives and processes. And do you see all of that? That's the how. And quite frankly, we're clueless, right? Truly, we don't know how, but we know what. And so we have a vision. We imagine the possibility. We imagine what it's like. And we stand steadfastly in our faith that if we will know the what, the universe will figure out the how. Ernest Holmes says the transformation takes place here. You don't have to wonder if it will take place out there. The world will come when enough of us see through the night into the celestial light that shineth more and more unto the perfect day. We don't have to wonder how it will take place or that it will take place. The world will come when enough of us see through the light into the celestial light. Imagine the vision, see it as real and as possible. And so how do we stay steadfast to a vision when sometimes it feels elusive, insurmountable? There's so much that needs to be done. What does it look like to stay steadfast? How do we know that the thing that I do is going to even make a difference, is going to matter? How do we stay steadfast in our own lives when we have a new vision a new idea. I'm going to be in a healthy relationship. I'm going to have a happy life. I'm going to give meaningful contribution. I'm going to learn something new. That is our spiritual discipline. We have that experience in our own lives already. We already know how to do this. And we have experiences in the collective. We see it in the civil rights movement, in the suffragette movement, in the Gandhian nonviolence movement. There's so many ways and places. In the work that Nelson Mandela did in a cell for 27 years to bring down apartheid, that is living a vision. That is what that looks like. The steadfast dedication and the spiritual discipline to stay focused on that end result and not to keep getting caught in the how. We've had this experience ourselves just in the last 2 years in this community. You do remember that, actually it was 3 years ago we had the very first conversation. Are we going to move? Are we going to build? Are we going to buy? Are we going to lease? What are we going to do? 2 years ago we started negotiating with the landlords for our expansion. 2 years ago. And it went nowhere. And it went nowhere, and it went nowhere, and it went nowhere. We did not realize at the time that what was going to be required is that the building was going to have to go in foreclosure. We were going to have to get a new landlord. We were going to have to wait 2 years, and we were going to have to decide that we were so steadfast about a sign out front that we were going to be not moved from that, and that they would give us not the space out front, which was less than ideal, but the space right back here for us to expand in this year. 2 years. We were steadfast in our belief that this community is growing and expanding and that we must have a sign out on Spring Valley so people can find us. Yes, thank you. You can clap for that. So we stayed committed. We didn't give up. We didn't blame anybody. We didn't buy into the notion, which even our real estate agent said to us at one point a year ago, well, it's kind of, there's a conversation out there. Why can't CSLDallas get their lease together? We didn't buy into any of it. We didn't pay any attention to it. We didn't worry about what community members were thinking. We didn't get sucked into whatever the landlords was able to do or not do. We didn't even get sucked into the fact that the agent back down at the very end got a little shifty. We didn't get sucked into any of that. We stayed committed, focused, and kept knowing that it was all going to come together. And sure enough, right before Christmas, we signed our lease. And this year, we expand into something new, because we imagined it was possible. And we stayed committed to the vision. Do you see? We already know how to do this.
So when we place before us a vision of that which harms no one and serves all, and stand steadfast in maintaining that vision as something we must know that it becomes a reality. When we secure it with the faith, as strong as the faith that absolutely, just like this morning, the sun came up, the sun will come up tomorrow, without fail. Then everything required to bring it into our own experience is attracted to us, to all these other communities, and everything unlike it is dissipated. Imagine that. Everything unlike it is dissipated. This is true for everything in the micro as it relates to our own health, our own wealth, our own creative expressions, our own relationships, and it absolutely is a world that works for everyone. It's true in that too. And so when we recognize that what we envision, and we hold that vision for a world that works for all, and that it's not particular to our own faith or for any of us as individuals. In fact, it's the desire of most people. That's the truth. This is the desire of most people. And in so being, our job, our only job, is to convince ourselves of the possibility. It's not for me to convince you. It's for me to convince me of the possibility, and then to imagine it as a reality. And so our work begins to clarify our thinking, and as we practice in seeing the goodness and the truth and the beauty in our own selves and in each other, and we follow up with appropriate activities, we must move our feet. We demonstrate what we have imagined has changed, and it is changed. And then we become this model, the spiritual prototype, the mental equivalent. We become that, thereby transforming the collective consciousness of the world. Mm-hmm. It merely takes a few, not 6 billion, for that tipping point. And so it's up to us, should we be willing to convince ourselves to live the vision, to trust the process, and to absolutely be tenacious in our own spiritual practice and our own behavior, because in doing so, it must be a reality in this world. For it either works, God is all there is, or it isn't. And therefore, we are taking part in our own consciousness to ensure that in our lifetime, there truly is a world that works for all in this one big, beautiful cave.
Mm-hmm. Let us pray. Just inviting you to take that breath. Go within. And imagine a world that works for everyone. Where all life is honored as expressions of the divine. Where people live according to spiritual truth. Imagine. Imagine humanity awakening to its own spiritual magnificence. Imagine humanity rediscovering its own personal creative power as part of the one. Imagine living in one global family, each and every person included, and where the kinship with all life prospers, all life, where unity and connection is emphasized, all beings everywhere, part of the one. Where forgiveness is the norm, the way that we ordinarily are with each other. And where spiritual guidance is valued in business, in politics, in education, in the family, in the home, in every way. Where we are called to conscious social action. Imagine where people have enough food, a home, and a true sense of belonging. Not excluded, but included in the one. Where there is peace and harmony and justice for all, for each and every person. Imagine that the resources whether it's money or fuel, energy, or the planet itself, where these resources are valued, cared for, and shared openly. Imagine communities are meaningfully involved in service to this world, and where there is a renewed emphasis on beauty, nature, creativity, art, and aesthetics. And as we imagine, we cast ourselves into that future. And that vision, it becomes an anchor there in the future. And we cast our hearts and minds like a lasso, and we lasso that vision, and it pulls us toward it. We don't need to know the how, for we are so bound to the what that the vision reveals itself through each and every one. Imagine. And so it is.